This is Beyond the Uniform with TJ Brassil.
Well, welcome into another episode of Beyond the Uniform. I'm TJ Brassil, and joining me today is Olympian and world champion Phyllis Francis. Phyllis, thank you for joining the show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's an honor. It's an honor.
All right, so it's been a couple of years since you won a world championship, but I would think it's still kind of cool when people say like world champion Phyllis Francis. Have you gotten used to people saying like world champion, or is that still kind of a cool moment for you?
Yeah, I would say it's still kind of a cool moment for me. To me, I'm just like a regular athlete, just trying to achieve my goals that I set for myself. So when you randomly get people coming up to you like, "Oh my gosh, world champion," I was like, "Oh wait, oh snap, that's me, that's right." Like, "Oh yes, hi guys." So, it's a really good feeling, and also a constant reminder of how much I've accomplished. So.
What goes through your mind when you see all these people come up and recognize you and see that or say that you're a world champion and you're such a notable face in track and field?
Just like, oh wow, like people actually pay attention to track and field. You don't really get a lot of that. You're so used to people knowing like all the basketball teams and the football teams. Nobody really pays attention to track. So when you have people come up to you and they not only know what you have accomplished, but they also pay attention to like they've been there throughout the whole entire journey. It's really nice to have loyal fans like that.
Yeah, that is really cool. Okay, so now as you head into another year of going to be another world champion, as we head into an Olympic year, how is training going so far?
Training's hard, of course. It's the Olympics. It only comes once every 4 years, so it's pretty intense, but a good type of intensity. That's all I can say about that.
What do you mean? Like what's a good type of intensity compared to a bad type of intensity?
Well, good type of intensity, I would say, is something where when you wake up, oh God, the workout's about to be really hard. I'm probably gonna limp home or something like that. And bad kind of intensity, I would say, is like there's no reason for me to be running this half marathon right now. Like, why? This has nothing to do with my event.
That's fair. That's fair. And then, so obviously, right now going on, there's kind of madness all over the world with COVID-19 spreading and the virus and everything. So, and rightfully so, everything's kind of been shut. Oh, who's this? Who's this little pup?
Morty, say hi. Everybody knows I love Morty, so he actually came upstairs to see what I'm doing. But continue.
Not a problem. But so with the spread of the virus, obviously everything's kind of been shutting down, and rightfully so.
Mm-hmm.
With that, I would think that would kind of have some impact on how you're able to train and stuff. How has that impacted your training so far?
Right now, it hasn't impacted my training so much. We're still training no matter where, whether it's a track or in the grass, we're still like doing things. At this point, it's just control what you can control, and we'll take things day by day. So can't really say much about it because everything is pretty vague and nobody really knows what's happening or going on, what's to tell in the future. So just have to wait. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Okay. And so, I mean, you've already had so much experience on the world stage. As I mentioned, you're an Olympian, you're a world champion. So with all of that experience, like what did all of that experience teach you as you go into training for another Olympics?
Just to be patient and be you. When I first ran my first international race, I felt as if I needed to be like my competitors and be like everybody else. And as I got older and as I became more experienced in my profession, I realized, you know what, just do you. This is what you excel in. Work on that, and everything else will come together.
Absolutely. And so with that, like, does it ease your nerves at all as when you step to the line now, knowing how much experience you have and having been there so many times?
Yes and no. Yes, it eases my nerves because now I know what to expect. No, because each year is different. Each year brings new competitors, Um, I still get nervous when I get to the line. I think that's normal. And if you're not nervous, then you need to ask yourself, like, is this something I really should be doing? But the nerves are good. It's good type of nerves. So, yeah, that's why I would say yes and no.
And with all that experience, like you hear in different sports, people talking about how experience can play play as such a factor into so many things, and people kind of being confident and stuff like that. But when it comes to track and field, like the common consensus would, a lot of people would think that, I mean, you're just running. It's just it's the fastest, whoever can get to the line first. So how does experience kind of come to play in track and field and really show in your event?
The difference between in my event, just specifically speaking for my event and my experience, is the difference between going all out and having nothing left in the tank for the last 100 meters and someone who is experienced and they, instead of going out, they kind of float and they hold a nice tempo and then they're able to finish strong. That's what I would say about the difference between experience and inexperience.
Okay. All right. Absolutely. And so a few episodes ago, I talked with an Australian runner, Morgan Mitchell, and she originally, in 2016, she was a 400-meter runner. Now she runs the 800. And so for you, it's kind of the flip, where in high school, you were an 800-meter runner. And then as you moved to college, you narrowed it down more so to the 400 meters. Why did you make that change?
To be honest with you, the 800-meter workouts were really hard. They were really hard. In high school, they were not so bad. I went from training 3 times a week and running at most maybe 10 miles. No, I lied. Probably 8 miles to when I went to college training with Villanana at the time, Andy Powell and Coach Marisa, to 19, 20 miles a week. So it was a very interesting transition for me. And at that point, I was like, oh, wow, that's a lot of mileage. I do not like this at all. What can I do? So that's when Coach Robert Johnson was like, hey, I'll put you on the 4x4, but you have to run like 56, like split 56. And I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, let's go. Challenge accepted. I think I ran like 55.9 or 56.1. And he's just like, all right, I'll just give it to you. And I was just so stoked, like, yay, I'm a 400-meter runner now. So that's how my journey started from there.
So what was that switch like then, going from the 8 to the 4? Because 4 to the 8, like obviously there's a lot more endurance involved and stuff like that. But 8 to the 4, it's almost the opposite. So what was that switch like?
It wasn't so bad from what I can recall, because I went from running, like I said, 19 miles a week to running less, like maybe like 8, maybe 7, 6, if anything. So I was not complaining at all. The only thing I would say was really hard was the speed and getting out the blocks. I actually struggled with that. I look awkward. It was a very awkward time for me during my sophomore year to senior year. I would say towards the end of my senior year, that's when I started to look a little professional. I look back at my videos, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe I got out the blocks like that. Like, what was I doing? My arms, my head, I popped up. It's just, ugh. So it's just one of those things I kind of cringe and try to forget about.
What was your biggest like surprise in switching from the 8 to the 4?
I would say the amount of speed work and how tiring it could be. Mm-hmm. You think that by running 30, 40, maybe 50 meters, oh, it's not that bad. But if you're running at full intensity, like it can take you out. And I wasn't so much tired breathing wise, but I remember my muscles just really sore. And I'm like, whoa, sprinting is no joke.
And so you also do a lot of work with the 200 to kind of keep up that speed for the 4 and stuff like that. Have you ever thought of doing like a double in the 2 and the 4 for the Olympic trials for the Olympics, or is it more sticking to the 4?
Probably the 4. I would like, in a perfect universe, that'd be great. But right now I'm just going to stick with the 400.
That's fair. That's very fair. So, I mean, throughout your career, you've accomplished a lot. Like in college, you broke the then collegiate and American record indoors in the 400. I mentioned an Olympian, gold medal. Thus far in your career, what's the accomplishment you're most proud of?
I would say it's weird. Most people, I would say Doha, this past Doha. I know I didn't, even though I did not win anything, just the fact that I was able to run a really fast 400 time and still maintain my rankings and come back and run a really good first leg in the 4x4 for us to come in and bring home the gold. I thought that that was something that was huge for me, especially with the season being pushed back. And my season and my races before that were pretty like shaky. Like I was running pretty average at that time. So I wasn't even sure what I was going to produce when I came to that world championship. So to be able to come out and run that time, I was like pretty stoked about
So,
that.
so when you say you weren't really sure what you were able to produce, so when you're going into that meet, what's your mindset then? Like what were you kind of aiming for to begin with?
Just I just when I go into championships like that, I like to keep it simple. And with that, since the season was pushed back, my times weren't really showing, but in training, I was running way faster. So I was trying to like figure out how to put two and two together. I just went in telling myself, just run faster than what you have been running and everything else will come. And it did. I was very pleased with myself and my time. I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. Yay. I mean, I didn't win, it sucked, but I just look at it as I look at it as just a stepping stone to my end goal. And every runner has its days, and that wasn't my time, but it's definitely coming. So I look forward to what's to come this year.
So what are your goals for then what's to come?
Well, of course, I want to run faster than the time I ran last year. That is the main goal. And, qualify for the Olympics. Just take it day by day, especially with all the craziness going on. So,
Do you set like daily goals for that, or how do you kind of go about to make sure that you can accomplish that main goal?
I have like this little notebook where I just write like little things as to what to do, like drink more water or eat more veggies today. Things that are simple. Like people think like, oh, I mean, those are no brainers. Like we want people to write something a little bit more, I don't know, extravagant. Like, oh, in practice, run this 200 in this time. Like, I don't think that way. Just the little things, because it's the little things that actually add up, and it definitely shows in the long run.
Totally. And so my last episode, I had English Gardner on, and so we were talking about different things with Oregon track and field, and she was talking about how it was you, her, and Mike Berry kind of redesigned the Oregon uniforms to kind of make them look like what they are now, and how your group kind of changed the face of Oregon track and field and really kind of brought a new energy into it. When you were a freshman, what was your mindset going in? Because she was talking about how she was like, oh, we're about to change all of this. Like, what was your mindset when you stepped on campus?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty. I remember it very well. How, especially English and Michael, I would say they were like the ringleaders to that whole change. They were definitely adamant about like showing the seniors like, yo, we're not nothing to look past. Like we're freshmen, but we can definitely do it, and we can definitely hold our own. So my mind just going in was at first just like run your best and don't get your scholarship cut, because back then they can cut your scholarship. So I'm like, okay, we can't have this happening. So we need to do what we need to do. But we kind of formed like a little group: English, Michael, Chizoba, myself, and just all the freshmen. And we told ourselves like, we're gonna show these seniors that we're not afraid and we're here to stay. And it was fun. It was fun. We was definitely terrorizing all of them, the seniors, Amber and I'm trying to think. Amber Purvis and who else? Jamisha Youngblood, all of them. So we had ourselves a good time. We were young, we enjoyed ourselves, and we definitely were talented because we definitely put our names on the map. And
Yeah,
Oregon.
that is for sure. You showed that for sure. But so I mean, you came all the way from Queens, New York, all the way to Eugene, Oregon. Like, what was that move like going all the way across country?
It was hard. It was very hard. I remember I forgot who picked me up. I think it was Jenny at the time because Coach Marisa was pregnant with her second child. And I remember seeing the stars. Now in New York City, we have a lot of light pollution. So you don't see the stars, you just see the city lights. So to see the stars and nothing's open around 10 p.m. was very weird for me. It's very strange. I need you to understand that. So it took like, I would say like close to 2 years for me to finally get used to it. I know 2 years, because I didn't realize that New Yorkers were really like uptight and we're so used to going. People would say, but in Eugene, people were like really chill, laid back, kind of like that West Coast vibe. They would say hello, like good morning. I'm like, good morning. Like, what's going on here? Oh, wow. I love it. And it definitely rubbed off on me because when I go back home, people say like, oh, Phyllis, you are so like hippie out. But I was just like, I love it. Peace and love.
Absolutely. And so when I mentioned how you how English was talking about how you guys were really going to change that program, and you really did, but when you look back on it and you look at what you guys were able to accomplish in your time at Oregon, like what goes through your mind?
Um, what goes through my mind? Oh, I'm just proud, you know, proud. The thing is that we were rookies. People weren't expecting us to do what we did. They knew of our accolades. They knew of what we were capable of doing, but not all the time our athletes or rookies are able to produce that. So the fact that we were able to put our names on the map and start that program and just bring in a new vibe and new energy, kind of like revamping the team. I just say I'm just proud. Yeah, I'm just proud when I think about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so now growing up, I had heard that your parents wanted you actually to play tennis. Is that correct?
No, I wanted to play tennis.
Oh, it was you. It wasn't the parents.
To play tennis. They told me I was too old. I think I was like 8 or 10 years old. I'm like, I want to play tennis. They're like, no, you're too old. Just run track. And I'm like, fine. I mean, I still believe I can still play. You know, I've never played it before. I have hope. Maybe after track, I can just start practicing. You might see me in, I don't know, 2024 or something. Like, you never know.
We'll be on the lookout that for sure. So then what was it when did you get into track and what got you into track and field?
um, I would say, well, I played soccer for I think 2 years when I was like 8, and then my parents are like, "All right, she does not like it because you're actually running more in soccer. You're running like at least a mile or two."
Mm-hmm.
I was tired. I was over it. I didn't even care who won. So my parents just said, "Just run track." And believe it or not, I used to suck at track. I used to lose. My sister, Claudia Francis, she ran for Oregon. She used to beat me all the time, left and right. It was awful. I didn't start doing well until I got into high school. And then from high school, I went to an all girls high school, and it gave me an opportunity to just kind of like be my own and just kind of flourish without being in the shadows of my sisters. So it gave me an opportunity to like show my skills, and I was able to get a scholarship because of it. And that's how I got into track.
Well, that seemed to have worked out pretty well.
It did.
So you mentioned Claudia. So what was that like having a sister kind of to come with you from New York? Obviously not at the same time, but eventually you guys were in Eugene together and be on the same team together.
Annoying. It was annoying at first because it was she ended up staying with me for 2 years before she decided to go off with her friends, and I'm like, wow, praises. There were moments, it has its perks. It's like living with any sibling, it's cool until it's not cool anymore. It's like, all right, I need my space, but we share a room together. So it's like, so my friends became her friends, and she just kind of like piggyback off of me. But all in all, it was cool though. We had more good times than bad.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So outside of track, what are your kind of interests outside of track, and what things do you like to do in your downtime?
I like to dance, cook, plant. Yeah, that's it. Just those three things.
All right.
Yeah, simple. Nothing crazy.
And then lastly, on your return to Eugene this year, I've talked to every Oregon athlete who I've had on here. I've asked this too, so I gotta keep asking. And that's, so you're returning to the same place but a different facility, a whole different stadium. What do you expect that return to be like?
Obviously it's gonna be different, but I still think it's gonna have that historical feel to it. It's just with a new millennial twist, I would say. So I'm looking forward to seeing how everything is. They still kept the campus the same, correct? They just expand. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to walking on my own stomping grounds and checking the place out. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being my guest today. I really appreciate it. And we'll be looking out for you for everything to come in the 2020 track and field season. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, TJ.
Of course. And thank you for everyone for listening and for watching. And I will see you next time for the season finale of season 1 of Beyond the Uniform. This was Beyond the Uniform with TJ Brassil. Join me again next week when former All-American sprinter Mary Beth Price joins the show for the season finale.